It's the Poojie Podcast, proudly sponsored by Cimarron Golf Club. What is going on, Pooj crew? Thank you for being here for episode 76 of the Poojie Podcast. Hope you already got a chance to listen to our episode 75, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott debate. Zach and I went in and had a lot of fun talking about those three quarterbacks, where they might end up and what their ceilings might be, wherever they may end up. But we're here to talk some March Madness. It is officially time to talk some college basketball, and it's the favorite time of year for a lot of sports fans out there. If you haven't already done so, go to ESPN Tournament Challenge and sign up for the Poojie Podcast Tournament Challenge group. Password is Poojie. Again, the Poojie Podcast. Poojie with a capital P is the password. Go sign up now for a chance to win a $50 credit for some merchandise to rep the Poojie Podcast wherever you may end up. And real quick, Luke, I'm going to bring you in here because I want to give a special shout out. Of course, love Cimarron Golf Club. They do a great job. Love Strings Sports Brewery. Love Shores Pub and Mandarin. They all three are fantastic. But I got to give a quick shout out to Azalea City Brewing Company in Palatka, Florida. Had no idea something like that was in Palatka until this past weekend. Luke, thank you for taking me there.
Yeah, just opened on Thanksgiving of 2020. Thanksgiving Day, I believe. So whenever everyone was out doing their Thursday Black Friday shopping, the pre-Black Friday shopping, they opened up, and I think it's been pretty good for Palatka as a whole to have that open now.
It's pretty insane, and honestly, it fits the city extremely well. And I don't know why Palatka doesn't just change their name to Azalea City, because Palatka does not rub me the right way. Azalea City does, and if I were to bring a minor league baseball team there, it would be the Azalea City Boot Stompers or River Drifters. Luke, what one do you like better, River Drifters or Boot Stompers?
Give me the Boot Stompers. I'll take those all day.
Azalea City Boot Stompers. We're going to make a minor league baseball team in Palatka, Azalea City. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, Jacob, tell me about the heartbreak real quick. That Duke game. I don't want to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up. UCF versus Duke 2018 round of 32. You might be on mute.
Yeah, I mean, that game was crazy just because we were going to watch UCF play VCU, and, we're like, oh, if they won, we'll see, yada, yada. Well, they actually won, and of course you go against the number one team in the entire tournament in Duke, and you're like, you have to go to that. By the end of that game, when we're like there for that final shot from Aubrey, or it was actually BJ, and then Aubrey for the tip-in, to just watch it rim out, it was awful, because you knew at that point you actually had that chance that going into the game, you were just like, win or lose, this is going to be awesome to watch. And once you're actually there and know it's possible, when it's taken away from you, that's where the heartbreak really came in. And then we saw some stupid fouls that probably should have been called, but it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. So that's the beauty of college basketball as compared to college football, that a team like UCF as an 8 seed gets the opportunity to play the number one overall team in the bracket against Duke and go toe-to-toe and prove that they can play, prove that they can be there. And we've seen so many teams do it so many times before. And as sports fans, that's why we love this time of year. Matt, I want to swing to you. You're a fan of a blue blood program, Gardner-Webb. No, I'm kidding. UNC, of course, and your Tar Heels ended up making it to the bracket this year after somewhat of a shaky season. You see the likes of Duke not in the tournament, Kentucky not in the tournament, Michigan State barely makes the tournament. So many of these blue bloods miss the tournament. North Carolina's in there pretty solidly with an 8-9 matchup in the first round. What's your excitement level right now as a North Carolina fan, being able to experience this after not getting a tournament last year?
Well, I mean, nobody got a tournament last year, so let's just put it at that. But, I mean, it's definitely exciting coming back in after a rough start last season, going 9-14, I think was the record. But, no, we're young, but we caught our strides here at the right time here in March. Is definitely the time to do it. Win 4 of the last 6 games, heartbreaking loss to Florida State in the semifinal. But I'm excited, get a chance to play Wisconsin, and hopefully get a chance to play the number 1 seed in the tournament.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. I love those big men that you guys have on North Carolina. We've been watching the ACC tournament, the games that did get played with number 5 and number 11. I don't even want to go for names, but
you got Armando Bacot and Daron Sharp.
Yeah, they're just huge. Like everyone else looks like they shouldn't even be on the court, to be honest with you. They just get every rebound, and it's not even fair, to be honest. But Wisconsin's typically known to have that size inside, and both football and basketball, they have pretty good defense, I think, in the Big Ten. So we'll see what happens there in that 8-9 matchup. Luke, what are you most excited about this time of year right now?
Big excitement for the Friday happy hour. As soon as games start tipping off, just sit there, 4 screens going. You have basketball all around and the beers are flowing. But talking about Matt and hoping that his team moves on, you got 4 1 seeds, and if UNC wins, presumably, unless we have another UMBC Virginia, they're going to be playing Baylor. So where do you guys rank Baylor among the 1 seeds that are in the tournament?
Considering I currently have them as my national champion, I say they're the top dog. I think they're the most talented number 1 seed. Yeah, you got Gonzaga that's undefeated. But lately, if you look at that, the conference they play in, which I think it's the West Coast Conference, only 2 teams from that conference even made it. So I don't know how much of that strength of schedule is a factor. Yes, they beat Kansas early on in the season, some other good teams, but I was much earlier on into the season. Some teams are just trying to find their stride. Illinois, I think, is a shock. I never expected anyone to be at the number 1 seed, but I mean, it dates back to the 2005 season when they made that incredible run. And then you got Michigan, has definitely had a successful season. But to rank them all, I would go Baylor, Gonzaga, Michigan, and then Illinois.
And Matt, that's kind of interesting though. Illinois, didn't they just win the Big Ten tournament?
They just did, yeah.
So 9 teams make it from the Big Ten, most ever in tournament history for any conference to send a representative. Like, you're looked at cross-eyed if you didn't make the tournament this year from that conference. Like, what's going on with you? But the fact that out of the 9, 2 of them are number 1 seeds is actually pretty interesting to see. And like Luke mentioned, UMBC, I remember watching that down in St. Augustine, just trying to figure out what happened. Who would have thought that the first 16-1 upset would be a blowout, right? Like, Luke, you remember watching that game? Jacob, were you out there too with us?
I'm not sure.
I think we were out at No Name down in St. Augustine, but we kept looking at the score and it just didn't add up. It was just, I'm pretty sure it ended up being like a 15-point game or something like that. And
it was about 20 points. My sister goes to UMBC, so I was watching it pretty intently. And I think they had the recipe to beat UNC, where Virginia's play style is very slow defensively. But if you're going to just hit shots, sometimes you just can't beat people that are hitting shots. And UMBC was hitting some shots that night. So that was a kind of a recipe for how I think another 1 seed could fall.
Yeah. And Jacob, you're a basketball fan just generally, like, big Magic fan. You follow the sport pretty well, maybe not as intently for college. But I guess in this type of situation where it's win or go home, what would you say is the most important factor for one of those lower ranked teams to be hitting on all cylinders to win one of these games? Is it rebounding? Is it inside? Is it free throws? What would you say?
Well, I mean, I know in today's game, and it's like across the board, it's just like 3-point shooting has become such a big staple in the game as it got added over the years. And I feel like younger kids are picking up from like the Steph Currys and stuff. And all these colleges that might succeed at these lower ranked seeds, that could be where they really hit. I mean, if you want to avoid getting like out-bodied or out-muscled in the paint, like if you don't have these, 5-4-star athletes, well, then maybe you just need to let it fly from 3. And if you hit, there's literally nothing you can stop people from just taking a bunch of threes and making them. So I feel sometimes that's why we might see some of these teams make early round upsets and then they don't quite finish it out, because at the end of the day, some of those other really good teams with high quality athletes might also be good at shooting the 3 ball, but in basketball, it could happen either way all the time.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately for me, I think what separates the tiers is the rebounding, the size inside, right? Like you'll see so many times, right? We saw, what was it? Wofford had that magical 3-point shooter. I can't remember his name, but
Fletcher McGee.
Fletcher McGee. So like he's a great 3-point shooter, right? But if those 3-point shooters on your team are not hitting in that specific night, you're done, because like you're literally making your money off of that shot. And if he misses, you're not going to get the rebounds. You're not going to get any second chance points. But what I think is very interesting is the polarization between college basketball and college football, where we're sitting here and for the first 10 minutes of this, we're talking about what makes for the perfect upset. And in college football, it's like, no, let's just, the blue bloods, the big guys, let's let the big names win it and go out there and compete. We'd rather see, the big dudes that are going to play in the NFL win it. But then come March, it's like the, Mercury hits retrograde and everyone wants to see these smaller teams win, and these younger guys that aren't really well known start draining shots, like, Doug McDermott and Jimmer Fredette and all these guys become these, or you mentioned Steph Curry, they become these, March heroes and, put the slipper on Cinderella. And it's pretty awesome to see, but I think that's interesting how that kind of translates from one sport to the next, even at the college level.
Absolutely. I mean, I just actually was looking up who the best 3-point shooting teams are, and like in the nation, this is just one website. So 2020 Colgate, the 14 seed, is one of the top 5 shooting from the 3. So it's like, this is why like teams, in my opinion, can do this. Like you talk about rebounding is a big difference maker. And I agree. And that's just when, if you hit your threes, there is no rebounding to worry about. But it's like, that's why these teams might hit it. And another quick note, I know it's a little off topic, but because we brought it up earlier, I wanted to bring this up. Gonzaga and Baylor, you guys were talking about these 1 seeds. They were supposed to play this year. Did you guys know that? They got canceled.
They got canceled.
I forgot all about that. And they got canceled. So it's like, we talk about Gonzaga being undefeated and Baylor being a pretty solid team. Matt's winner. Imagine if that game had happened, where we'd be right now.
Wow. You say that, and it's like, it's funny how these bigger teams in basketball are okay scheduling those big non-conference games because they know it's not make or break for the tournament. There's enough room in the tournament for everyone to compete. So, it puts on a good product in the middle of February or January, whenever it might be, for the fans. Yeah, go for it, Jacob.
Another point, who do you think is the number 1 shooting team from 3? Any guesses?
Number 1 shooting team?
Yeah, who's the best 3-point shooting team by their percentage?
I don't know. I'm going to go with Ohio.
Ohio? What do you
Georgetown.
Say, what do you say, Matt? Go with your heart. Go with your gut.
Best 3-point shooting team. Oof. I'm gonna go. Give you a surprise. I'm gonna go Winthrop.
I tried to bait you into it because you said Baylor was your pick. Baylor is the number 1 3 shooting team right now.
Oh, that's dangerous too, because if they can shoot threes and they're just a really good team all around, that's dangerous.
I'm gonna double check it too. So, but yeah,
that's pretty. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting on that side of the bracket. I mean, just looking at it now, you have Baylor, you have North Carolina, Villanova, Purdue, and then even Florida and Ohio State. I mean, those are all teams that are extremely conditioned and seasoned in the tournament. Texas Tech, even, I mean, as of recent, weren't they in the Final Four a few years ago? Is that correct?
I think they're in the championship.
They like a monster defense. Well, let's go. I guess bracket by bracket. Starting with the West, guys. Looking if you guys have it pulled up or have it somewhere. Out of these teams in the West, I guess ranked 1 through 4, Gonzaga all the way up through Virginia. You have Iowa, as well as Kansas. Out of those teams, what team do you think is built to make the biggest run? Is it as simple as being Gonzaga?
I think they have the easiest route. Yeah, Gonzaga.
It seems that obvious, right? But then it also comes down to, like Jacob said, like with strength of schedule, we saw them just struggle against BYU in the West Coast championship game. And BYU's just a 6 seed. So it makes you wonder if that's going to catch up to them, especially playing, alternate nights, not really having too much time, something like that. Luke, what do you say? Gonzaga, or are you going with one of the others?
I'm gonna take Gonzaga. I also have Gonzaga as my number 1 seed, and Baylor is my number 2. It's a little bit of flip-flopped on Matt's. Gonzaga actually took care of West Virginia, who I believe is a 3 seed. I believe they took care of Iowa, who's a 2 seed. So they've beaten some top-tier teams. And then when they got to regular season schedule, obviously the West Coast isn't that great. But I think Gonzaga has a path to run to the national championship, and I think they're going to be there.
Yeah. No, I think that's the most obvious answer. I don't think there's been an undefeated national champion since like Michigan a ton of years ago. I don't even know the direct or the actual season, but I know it's few and far between. So if they do win, it's not like it happens pretty often. And they do have a pretty good route. Creighton is the 5 seed on that side of the bracket. Virginia has been struggling down the road as the 4 seed. USC coming out of the Pac-12, I don't really trust them. And Kansas, Iowa is a good team, but Matt, you said something the other night. The Luka Garza is like their whole offense.
Yeah, pretty much. If he has a good game, I'm not saying that Iowa completely runs their game around Garza, but if he has a good game, that's just going to boost their confidence that they're going to have a good team. They're a great team. They're an absolute powerhouse in the Big Ten. So potential Elite 8 rematch between Gonzaga and Iowa for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be definitely interesting to see. Now, out of the teams from 5 or lower, any of you guys got anyone in this side of the bracket that you think could maybe make a Sweet 16, Elite 8 run?
You talked about USC. I think that could be a potential dark horse. Coming as a 6 seed in that bracket. They've had a pretty strong resume this year, shockingly. 3 of their 7 losses they've had was against Colorado, who came in as a 5 seed. They got a guy, Evan Mobley, I believe is his name, potential lottery pick in the NBA draft. They're great rebound and shot blocking teams, so that could be a potential problem for teams. So we'll see.
I don't really like anybody on that side on the West that are lower than 4, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Oregon. They're the 7th seed out there. And just the other teams that are lower ranked than 7, I just don't really see with a chance to push it.
Yeah, I feel like Oklahoma and Missouri, they're typically tournament teams that don't really make noise. Creighton, I think, honestly, I don't think Creighton has I think they're 0-8 in the last 8 attempts in the round of 32. So even if they win, I don't think they get past either Virginia or Ohio, whoever it might be. I mean, and that's just straight statistics. And, it's just their luck that they're a 5 seed, in the classic 5-12 matchup. I think Eastern Washington is an interesting one to watch. I know Kansas has actually turned it up a lot. And I think when it comes to this time of the year, I actually trust coaching to take over. We've seen that a lot in the past where, we saw 7 seed Kentucky about maybe 4 or 5 years ago make a run, and Wichita State made a run. Who was the coach of Wichita State back in the day? He had all those issues now. Can't think of his name. Greg or something. I can't remember his name, but he had the slick back hair. I just think coaching actually does come into play in this tournament a lot. I think Kansas might be okay. Let's go to the East real quick, where Michigan. Greg Marshall. So the East, Michigan's the 1 seed. You have Alabama there as the 2, Texas as the 3, and you have Florida State as the 4. And now, sorry for Florida State fans. You guys had the tournament team last year had it not gotten canceled. I mean, that team was built pretty deep. You guys have any thoughts on this side of the bracket at all in the East with Michigan leading it off?
We're picking our 1 through 4.
Yeah, 1 through 4. Who you got?
I'll go last, actually.
Oh, you teased us there a little bit.
I'll let Jacob go first.
Oh boy.
I honestly have coming out of this part of the bracket. I want to say I have Michigan or Alabama, and I kind of would like to see Alabama do it. Not that I hope Alabama just succeeds in every sport now, But it's like Alabama being such a big football school and dominating that, their basketball program doesn't really have much expectation as they don't need to. But if they were to make it to a Final Four and then potentially have a shot at a championship, they've literally – I looked this up. I shouldn't say I looked this up. I saw this on a YouTube video. Bama, Clemson, Miami, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Texas, USC. All really good football programs historically that have never been to the championship, even been to it, not even like winning it. So if Alabama were to have that shot, this would be a pretty historical moment for them.
That'd be big time. I mean, it'd be cool to see, but hey, Matt, I said this to you the other night. Iona over Alabama, 15-2 upset right there. Rick Pitino with Iona. And I don't know if I'm going to take this in my bracket. Maybe I will. I'll put my chips where my mouth are, or where my mouth is. But Rick Pitino, 15 he's ever taken to the tournament. Okay, so that's one thing. Iona, this is their 5th straight tournament. So no matter what year you are at Iona, unless you're a freshman, you have tournament experience. And Alabama just went straight to the wire with LSU, who came in at an 8 seed in the tournament. And they beat LSU by 1 point in the SEC championship game at the very end. And don't get me wrong, as much scrutiny is around Will Wade and the coach there at LSU, I think LSU is a good team that could actually maybe give some problems to Gonzaga. I think Iona would be an interesting one to watch. Not that we see 15-2 upsets all the time, but with Rick Pitino leading the charge, he has tournament experience as a coach. Iona's 5th straight tournament appearance. I mean, it kind of has the recipe for a nice little 15-2 upset in round 1.
Yeah, definitely. I got 2 teams, 2 Cinderella teams making the Sweet 16 in that bracket. You got 10 seed Maryland, who has the capability of beating anybody in this tournament. Not going to lie. I got them beating Alabama. I also have Georgetown, a 12 seed, upsetting Colorado and then upsetting Florida State. Georgetown came in as an 8 seed in the Big East tournament and wiped everybody out and shocked the entire nation. And I think they're going to keep that momentum going in. So I've got them in Maryland in the Sweet 16. But watch out for Shaka Smart and the Texas Longhorns. Just won their first Big 12 tournament championship, I think, in the last 26 years. I got Texas going in there. I got Texas coming out of that bracket.
Awesome. No, I actually have Florida State going to that side of the bracket. I like this Florida State team. Michigan's actually my lowest ranked 1 seed. They have some injury problems currently. Who knows what happens there? I think going into an LSU game in the second round is going to be very tough if they're still injury prone. So I think, and Michigan's kind of been falling down lately, and you don't want to have that running into the tournament. So I think they're going to have some trouble going against LSU if they beat St. Bonnie's. And then I agree. I think Georgetown's probably going to be an upset on the 12-5. But I think Florida State's probably going to take them out after that. So I have Florida State taking the east side.
I agree with that part too. Just to talk on Michigan, what you're talking about, the injury problems, I'm glad you reminded me about that. It's Isaiah Livers who is out indefinitely. I think he was like their number 2 scorer.
It's a big point for the Michigan Wolverines is that you can't have a star player like that out when come tournament time.
But I mean, just like Matt said, Texas, like that's another team that if they were to make it to a Final Four and potentially a championship, first time in their history.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this side of the bracket, and I'm actually, mentally, I'm justifying why I could pick any of these teams to make a deep run that are lower ranked. Like LSU, they have the momentum coming off of a 1-point loss to Alabama. They play potentially a depleted Michigan team, so they could maybe make a run. Colorado, I never really trust a Pac-12 team, to be honest with you, and for whatever reason, I just don't like. I don't think they have like the tournament experience. I guess would be the thing I would say. You mentioned Georgetown being the 8 seed, winning the Big East. I like that's easily an upset there. Florida State as a 4 seed, as soon as you get to the Elite 8, that's an upset if they beat, if they get that far or to the Final Four even. A 4 seed making it that far is pretty impressive. But UNCG is another team that we kind of watched a little bit. that made some noise in their conference championship. In Florida State, a team that doesn't have much tournament experience, again, like Alabama, going up against a team that maybe not a lot of people are thinking about. UNCG is right there for maybe a 13-4 upset. BYU coming out of the West Coast Conference, potentially going up against two seasoned, experienced blue bloods in Michigan State, UCLA. Texas, I think, is the biggest guarantee outside of the 1 and the 2, or outside of the 1. Texas over Abilene Christian. Sorry, Darinka. And then UConn and Maryland. I think that's going to be a great game. But like you said with Maryland, honestly, any team coming out of the Big Ten had at least 10 top 25 games on their schedule. So they're battle tested. They know how to play in big games. They're in the tournament and they're going against UConn. And I hate the Big East. So I'm going to and I hate UConn because they stole the Civil Conflict Trophy as soon as we started winning it. So we don't like UConn. And then, like I said, Iona, just kind of for shits and giggles, but I honestly kind of feel some way about it. Looking up and down, I think this might be the most intriguing side of the bracket. Would you guys be against that, for that? What do you got?
I love the East for the upset potential. And if I had to pick a team to make a really deep run, I'm taking MSU. They're going to win their playing game. Tom Izzo come tournament time, it's just a scary thing to face. And Michigan State, they beat Michigan, and they beat, I believe, Illinois in their last few games. So those are 2 1 seeds that they beat in the recent history. So if they can do that, they can do almost anything.
Yeah, looking at the most recent part of their schedule, they have wins against Michigan, Ohio State, and Illinois, like you said. I mean, they played Maryland twice, Michigan twice. They played Purdue. They played a lot of these teams that are pretty good seeds in this bracket. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really have anyone big coming out, like in terms of a lower seed. So I might just piggyback off of Luke. That's a really good pick. That's something I didn't even notice. But Michigan State, if they make the tournament, they have all these really good games and experiences against these top teams and wins. So, I mean,
yeah,
Luke, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
And they're going against a UCLA team, which again, from the Pac-12, not to be a Pac-12 hater, but they don't belong in the Power Six as it is. So I don't think they really present much of a challenge. And it's about being hot at the right time. I have an interesting question I'm going to ask you guys a little bit later, but I just want you to keep Michigan State in mind. If I had to take an above 4 seed to make a run out of this side of the bracket, I am going to go with LSU. I think St. Bonaventure is an interesting one. I just struggle to trust those smaller schools in these types of spots, especially with LSU just going to the conference championship game, just going toe-to-toe with Alabama, who's a 2 seed. And, they await Michigan in the next round. I hope LSU doesn't overlook St. Bonaventure. I think that's the one thing that could happen, is that LSU is already looking ahead to Michigan, because if they beat Michigan, they're going up against either Colorado, Georgetown, or Florida State, which are all beatable teams for them. So there's an easy path to the Elite Eight right there for LSU. I'm going to take LSU as my dark horse team in the East, the above 4 seed, to make a run. Matt, you got anyone?
I'll still stick with my gut, the Georgetown Hoyas, as a 12-5 upset, making that run to the Sweet 16.
I like it. Well, let's go over to the south side of the bracket, south side, where we have Matt's number 1 pick, Baylor, to win it all. We got his Tar Heels in here. We have Winthrop, his 12-5 upset. We got a lot of interesting matchups here. We got Toothpaste up against Arkansas, down as the 3-4 matchup. Florida, they're dead to me because they lost to freaking Tennessee. They blew a 5-point halftime lead. That was stupid. And you got Oral Roberts versus Ohio State, and Texas Tech, Utah State, Purdue, North Texas. What do you know? A bunch of more Big Ten teams.
So on this side of the bracket, I'm going to go with Matt and say Baylor is my pick. I think they're the best team on that side. They're my number 2 overall seed, and we just discussed it earlier. Really good at shooting the 3. They don't even have to shoot a 3 to beat you. They can beat you inside. and they don't have to shoot threes. They can just shoot off the screen or anything. So they have a really talented team, and the athletes are just going to show. And I think it's going to be a matchup of they'll make it to the Final Four, and I might have them in my championship game. Haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I think they have one of the best scoring offenses in the country. They got a kid named Maceo Teague, who was a transfer my senior year in college when I was at Gardner-Webb. He was a freshman at UNC Asheville, and he dominated the court. I think he was a freshman of the year before he transferred. So it's going to be kind of cool to see him take it all the way potentially for Baylor. So we'll see. But, yeah, I think Baylor's the most talented team coming out of this side of the bracket.
Yeah, I agree with them. Baylor, as we mentioned earlier, I said they're the number 1 3-shooting team. So 1 seed that's really good at shooting the 3 ball. I love that. And does anyone really want to talk about why there's a toothpaste team in this part of the bracket? I've never heard of. And
they've only played 16 games.
People in my office were like, "Oh, you've never heard of Colgate?" They've been in a lot of these tournaments. They were in the 2019 tournament, but since before that, I think it was 2008 was the most recent tournament. I had never heard of them. I never knew Grand Canyon was a team. And then what was the other one in the other bracket? Oral Roberts. Yeah, in this bracket. Who's Oral Roberts and why is he at college? Does anyone know that?
We talked about it today.
What was he? Was he some war hero? Was he a Civil War guy, or was he the mayor?
Let me look this up.
Tom decided to name a team after himself.
Tom was telling me about him because I said I looked him up. It was
all we know is that Oral is not his real name. I think it's his middle name.
Granville
Oral Roberts.
But this is very interesting. In 1963, he founded Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, stating that he was obeying a command from God. So now, are you going to pick against Oral Roberts when the school itself was a command of God to be created?
That is tough. And
you're
going against Ohio State, who's had a bunch of domestic issues with Ryan Day and all these different, or not Ryan Day, Zach Smith under Urban Meyer. It's the devil versus the angel here, and Oral Roberts versus Ohio State. Is there any actual storyline here besides potential biblical upset?
A current coach of Ohio State, former coach at Gardner-Webb, Chris Holtman. There's a stat line right there.
There you go. So G-Web.
G-Web's still in it.
Making some people famous. Matt, I'm not just saying this to please you. I think North Carolina is an interesting team right now because, 3-point loss to FSU in what was a questionably officiated game, and they're hot at the right time. They're going up against Wisconsin, who is also battle tested. So this whole Baylor versus North Carolina, Wisconsin potential game kind of intrigues me a little bit from a standpoint of North Carolina and Roy Williams is a very experienced tournament team, and we've seen 8 beat 1s in the past. It's not like this would be anything crazy. We've seen it happen. I don't know if I want to call this that it's going to happen, but something's telling me that Baylor's not going to make it to the Elite 8 in this side of the bracket, to be honest.
I mean, it's definitely going to be a battle test for Baylor. North Carolina's the best offensive rebounding team in the country, the best rebounding team in the country. So I think for North Carolina, if they get the offensive rebounds, they get the second chance points. I think it's going to be a tough test for Baylor. It's going to be a good game. I just don't know how offensively North Carolina's going to play. They like to turn the ball over a lot at times, so we'll see. I mean, I have Baylor win it all, but I can't be mad if they lose North Carolina.
And, dude, hey, to be honest with you, UNC's holding opponents to 69 points per game.
Nice.
Come on. Nice. That's what you
Can't
like to
ruin
see.
that.
What's up?
Can't ruin that.
Can't ruin that.
Leave the stat as it is.
They'll hold Baylor to 69 right there. Boom. You'll love to see it. Well, anyone in the 1 through 4 seeds that you guys like outside of Baylor or including Baylor to make the deep run, is it going to be Baylor or you guys got someone else?
My pick is Baylor. If I had to pick somebody else, I like Purdue. Boiler up. No reason other than Purdue, boiler up, black and gold. Love it.
So I'll give you a reason. Here's my reason. I think Winthrop puts up a good test against Nova. In either way, I like Purdue against either of those teams simply because they have a lot of size inside. And if Baylor does end up getting upset in the round of 32, I think Purdue could maybe luck into a decent matchup in the Elite Eight or in the Sweet 16, excuse me. So to put some thought behind what you just said, yes, boiler up, but also I think, like we mentioned earlier, the rebounding teams, I think, do take precedent when it comes to March Madness, and Purdue is a very good team when it comes to that. I think they could be a team to look for to make a deep run. Anyone 5 to 16, Jacob, potentially that you like in this side of the bracket?
I think you almost have to kind of wonder what Colgate, even though I was making fun of them, is going to do, because I'm just as I was confused. I'm sure there's plenty of people confused on who they even were. And reading a little bit about them this afternoon, it's almost like we can't just write them off. They are 14-1. I mean, they basically played, I think it said 5 teams on their schedule, like just a mix of that. So they're almost kind of a mystery, but they're one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the country once again. So like, I love that kind of thing whenever you're playing against someone you shouldn't be playing against. It'll just be exciting to see what this mystery team, in my opinion, does, just because we don't have a schedule of norm. Like we were talking about Michigan State's schedule. They played all these teams. We know that they're battle tested. We have no idea what Colgate might do and what they might not do. So that's my intrigue team in this part of the bracket.
I like I'm going to stick back to the 12-10 guys I had in the Sweet 16. I do have my 12 and a 10 winning their first round games. Going to Winthrop, I think they can upset Purdue. Winthrop likes to push the pace. And by the way, they're 23-1. They've had one loss all season. And so they have a guy at point guard who's 6'7", who has 3 triple-doubles this season. And they have a guy who's 6'9", 275, a guy named DJ Burns, former Tennessee recruit. So I think watch out for the Eagles there. And then a 10 seed at Virginia Tech. Justin, you and I were just talking about yesterday against Florida. Florida's not a very good tournament team. And the Hokies are coming off COVID, but they're going to definitely be a sleeper, in my opinion.
I would like Florida if Keontae Johnson was still playing. I think the fact that he got injured earlier on in the season basically set the pace for Florida this year. Next year, watch out. I mean, this guy was supposed to be like SEC Player of the Year. I mean, this guy's really good. And then he ended up going to the hospital for a few days in a coma, I believe. Got better, but he hasn't touched the court, I don't think, since. So I think next year, watch out for Florida. Keontae Johnson will probably be a really good player for them. But I do believe Matt is correct. Virginia Tech's probably going to take that upset. And I also really like the Winthrop upset over Villanova. They're a 5 seed, but they have the Michigan trouble as well. They have a star player that is currently out for injury. So if you have a team that's 23-1 facing a team that got beat by the 8 seed in their tournament, and they were supposed to be the 1 seed in the Big East, and they have a star player that's injured, I believe Matt is totally correct. 12 and 10 seed, you make it out of the first round.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what Winthrop does. I think, I like the Ohio Bobcats in the first region we discussed. I think it was the West. But when it comes to 13 seeds, I think North Texas could be something to look at. But I also think Winthrop as a 12 seed might be the most favorable 12-5 matchup here. And there's something to be said about only one loss. I mean, we know it even coming from football. You don't luck into almost a perfect season. Like, anything can go wrong any time of the day, any given game. 23-1 is extremely impressive, and no matter what conference they're in, there should be other teams that could be able to beat them, and that's just not the case here. So we'll see what happens with Winthrop in this one. I think this might be another very intriguing one. I think we could see Virginia Tech. I think we could see Colgate. Utah State, I think, is the best 11 seed in the tournament, I want to say. North Texas could put up a battle, Winthrop, and so on from there. So, again, it's March Madness. Anything can happen. Let's go to the Midwest. Jacob, if you want to kick us off here, anything about this side of the bracket intrigue you between, Illinois, Houston, West Virginia, or anything like that?
Well, the top NBA prospect is in this part of the bracket, and Cade Cunningham.
Okay.
I think we were looking at the bracket at work, and I was picking some teams, and that made sure to remind me, hey, Oklahoma State has that guy, so don't forget that. So that'd be an interesting 12 seed to look at, as they have who arguably is probably the number one pick coming out for the NBA. Other than that, for me, I feel like, and this is my limited knowledge, I mean, Houston's really good on defense. Houston is just a good team that I think will probably have the best shot to come out after Illinois. But it's other than that, a lot of it's chalk to me in this part of the bracket. I'm not really looking at upsets. I don't know. What do you guys think, Luke or Matt?
I really don't have any upsets in this bracket. If I were to pick a team that would make a run, I would probably take Syracuse, who I think was projected one of the last 4 teams in. They have an efficient offense by Jim Boeheim and his son, Buddy Boeheim. They can shoot the three pretty well, so if they can get hot, I could see them potentially making a deep run. However, I don't see them coming out against San Diego State.
Yeah, I mean, so much of me wishes that Loyola Chicago was not an 8 seed, because I really wish they wouldn't potentially have to play Illinois in the next round. I don't think that bodes too well for them. And granted, if they were a 7 seed, I think Houston is another extremely tough matchup. I mean, when you look at it, this is the bottom right side of the bracket, the Midwest, but Illinois, Houston might be the best 2 seed in this bracket, to be honest with you. I think they were on the verge of being a 1 seed. So even if Loyola Chicago was a 7 seed, I don't think they would have maybe gotten over Houston. It would have taken them to be, one of those Cinderellas again. And I think that's an interesting thing to think about, guys, is do you think the reason we see some of these bigger runs by the 11s and 12s, potentially 13s, is because they don't have to go up against the 1s and 2s until later in the bracket? They get the 4s and the 5s and maybe the second, third round.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're an 8-9 matchup, you have probably the toughest draw. You're getting the closest theoretically seeded matchup, so you're going toe-to-toe with somebody that should be on par with how good you are. And then if you win, minus the one time it's happened ever, you're going against one of the best 4 teams in the entire tournament. So, I think it comes down to seeding, and some of those seeds just give you an easier path to make it maybe to a Sweet 16. Whereas if you're the 8-9, you kind of get stuck with a hard matchup to begin with, very even, and then you get probably the first seed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this side of the bracket right now. Chalk, I think, would be the ideal term here. But then again, in the past, we've seen so many times where the sides of the brackets where we think are going to be the most consistent end up being the craziest. Yeah. And the ones where we think are going to be crazy end up being pretty status quo. So, who knows what's going to happen, but let's do a little game here to close out this episode. We just went through the bracket with some of our highlights of the bracket. But we all love upsets, right? Who doesn't love an upset in college basketball? Who doesn't love March Madness? We will each pick a 9 through 16 seed, one team at each seeding, and it's going to be a first-round competition. If your team wins the first round, you get that many points. So if your 9 seed wins, you get 9 points. If your 16 seed wins, you get 16 points, and so on. Whoever gets the most points combined out of the first round wins. And let's kick it off. Matt, we'll start with you, and we'll just run through this because we'll be cutting it close on time. But Matt, we'll start with you at the 9 seed. If you have a little bit of an explanation, go for it. But we'll kick it off with you.
9 seed, I got St. Bona against LSU. I just like the name, so I'm just going to kick it off with that. 10 seeds, my Maryland Terrapins. I got to go with them.
Whoa! You're going way too ahead. We got to go one at a time, man. One at a time. We got to see. So you said St. Bona for the 9?
Yes.
Okay, so let me write that down. All right, Jacob, let's go over to you, man.
I got Georgia Tech. Not much explanation at all because I'm not really a fan of any of these 9s.
All right. Yeah, me neither. This was the one I struggled with most. Luke, what about you?
I'm also going with Georgia Tech, like Jacob said. I like the ACC as a conference generally for basketball, so I'm just going to go with Georgia Tech.
All right. I am, and this is difficult for me, I'm going to go with Missouri simply because of process of elimination. I want North Carolina to beat Wisconsin. I think that'll happen. I like Loyola Chicago just because I like Loyola Chicago, and I think LSU is going to make a run, so that leaves me literally with Missouri up against Oklahoma. So I'm going to go with Missouri as my 9 seed. Matt, let's go back to you. I think I heard a little bit of a Terrapin coming out.
Yep, give me my Maryland Terrapins, born and raised in Maryland. They're a hot team. I'm going to go with them.
All right,
I think Scott Kornberg would like that answer too.
Scott would probably take them as well. I think I saw one of his brackets. He had them winning the whole thing. So,
oh yeah.
Jacob, what about you with the 10?
I'm gonna go with Virginia Tech, just because, like Luke was saying earlier, I don't think Florida is as strong as they were. So I think Virginia Tech's gonna get the win over them.
Okay, I like it. Good explanation. Florida's dead to me anyway. Luke, what about you?
Again, me and Jacob have the same picks. I'm taking Virginia Tech. Stephanie will probably be mad at me about that, but Florida just got stomped by Tennessee, so I'm thinking they're going to get stomped again.
Yeah, and you know what? To be honest with you, they got stomped by Tennessee a few weeks ago. I had Florida plus 5.5. They lost by 11. Then again, plus 3.5. They lost again. That's why they're on my dead to me board, so I don't bet on Florida basketball anymore. And, of course, for that reason, they're going to make a run in this tournament. I can already sense it because everything goes against me. I am going to go with Maryland. I will tail Maynard on this one. As much as it pains me to do that, because actually it doesn't pain me to do that at all because I hate the Big East and I don't like UConn at all. So I'm going to take Maryland. What I was going to say, what pains me is not picking Rutgers, because, I'm a part of the New Jersey Natives Club since I'm from New Jersey by way of Tampa. And I really wanted to pick Rutgers here in this spot, but I had to go with Maryland. I think they are the hot team at this point. Matt, let's go to you for your 11 seed.
We talked about them earlier. I'm going to go Michigan State. Tom Izzo's one of the best in the country. They're a good tournament team. Getting that playing game potential upset against BYU is a possibility. So give me the Spartans.
I like it. Jacob, who do you got as the 11?
I am going with Drake. They're going to win their playing game, and then they're going to win their first round, and I have no explanation. I just heard someone say that might be a good team, so I rode with it.
Views of the 6th seed for Drake in this bracket. So you're going with Drake to upset the 6th seed here. And Luke, hey, if anyone uses that out there, I'm just copywriting it. A verbal copyright. Is that how it works? Legal, guys? Views of the 6 instead of views from the 6. Drake is going to upset the 6 seed there. Luke, what about you?
I'm taking Michigan State. I'm confident enough that they're going to win their playing game. Tom Izzo is just a great tournament coach. So if I pick against Florida, I have to make Stephanie happy and pick Michigan State to then make a run.
Oh, is that because you told her to not pick Michigan State straight up a few months ago in the college football parlay?
I mean, we still won it with like plus 28 points, even though we didn't need them.
That's true. Yeah, you picked them on the spread and they ended up winning anyway. So I'm going to tail Jacob on this one. I'm going with Drake as well. He's got me in my feelings, and I think that they are going to upset the Pac-12 USC Trojans here. And let's go to the 12 seeds. Maynard, go for it.
My Sweet 16 team, Georgetown Hoyas.
Oh, boy. Georgetown. So do you think at any point the Big East is just going to collapse and Georgetown's going to be the only thing holding them up in this tournament?
It's possible. It's March. You never know.
I could see that happening. Let's go to Jacob for the 12 seed.
Give me Winthrop just because they're 23-1. So how are they a bad basketball team if they're 23-1?
And their team name has the word win in it. So it only makes sense that they are going to win this first round game. Luke, let's go with you, the 12.
I'm tailing Jacob. Winthrop, I like their 23-1. Also, the fact Villanova has a pretty good basketball player on their team that is out.
Okay, Winthrop. I too am gonna go with Winthrop, but I'm not against changing it to UCSB if I get 3 thumbs up from you guys right now. What do you guys think?
I mean, they got the best name, the Gauchos.
Gauchos.
The Gauchos.
I'm gonna go with my gut. I'll keep with Winthrop, but I'll pull for Santa Barbara. Because Santa Barbara, hey, we're all about inclusion here. Santa's now a girl, so Santa Barbara is possibly gonna pull out the upset against Creighton. And Creighton just had some issues with their locker room. I think that could boil over into the tournament, but we'll see. Matt, let's go to you for the 13 seed. This is where we'll really make some points here. 13 to 16. This is what we live for. The 13 to 16.
Give me the Ohio Bobcats. They had the walk-on Jason Preston, I believe is his name. He had an incredible story of what he's been going through. I like the Ohio potentially upsetting Virginia.
Oh boy. You got to love good stories come March. And to be honest with you, every game you watch, there's going to be a good story. I love them. It'll be emotional. You'll get emotional right before you watch the game. But it'll be a good story nonetheless. Luke or Jacob, let's go to you real quick. What about you?
I actually have North Texas as my 13, and that's mainly because I think I like all the other 4 seeds better than I like Purdue. So I don't like any of the 13 seeds, honestly.
Gotcha. Hey, that's fair enough. Process of elimination. That was me with Missouri. Luke, what about you for a 13?
I'm actually going to take Liberty. I like Liberty. They have 28 games under their belt, 23 wins. I know he's playing against the number 1 NBA draft pick, but when Lonzo Ball was out there, he didn't make a big push in the tournament either. So I'm taking Liberty.
Liberty sucks.
Liberty. No, I like it. I mean, they've won 12 straight. So, that they're on a little bit of a heater right now. They've got some good momentum. And they're number 1 in their respective conference in 3-point field goal percentage, which is what kind of makes you magic in March. So we'll see if that happens, but I am going to go with the Ohio Bobcats as well. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio is the team that makes a deep run. We don't often see it from 13 seeds. But I think that this could be a situation. Virginia, I don't think is traveling until Friday of their game. So there's not going to be much time to actually prep amongst the team. If Ohio beats Virginia, they go up against either Creighton or UC Santa Barbara, which I think is a favorable matchup. And then they wouldn't really get tested until Gonzaga in the Sweet 16, which I would chalk up there as a loss. But I think Ohio Bobcats is going to be my 13 seed. Jacob, Maynard, what about you for a 14?
I think I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't go with these guys. Give me toothpaste. Give me Colgate.
Oh, man. Fresh breath. I like it. So Maynard's going with Colgate, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the nation. Jacob, what about you for 14?
Absolutely going with Colgate as well. 14-1, average 18 points over their opponents in victory, and then 40% from 3. Like, how do you not go for this 14 seed of all the 14 seeds?
Oh, I'll be pulling for them. I just don't know if they're going to pull it out. I mean, I don't know who's going to predict the 14-3 with confidence, right?
I just did.
Oh God, you just did. You're right. I just bit my tongue. Luke, what about you? 14 seed.
Give me the toothpaste, man. Top field goal percentage from threes. Can't beat that.
You're right. Like you can't beat that, but you can because we saw Wofford go down a few years ago, and
but they won their first round.
What's up?
They won their first round though.
Yeah, but they were like a 10 seed or something. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. I am going to take Eastern Washington. I'm going to go with the Eagles here. And this has already been on paper, so I'm not picking this one just to pick up some points on you guys. But if I lose this, then I'm pretty screwed because you guys would all get the victory with Colgate if they potentially won. So I'm going to go with.
Should have taken a sweep.
So this is how about this is a bet because we all know how much we love Rumplemints, right?
Oh God!
The closest thing I know to toothpaste is not toothpaste. So all 3 of us picked Colgate, and you didn't. So if Colgate actually wins, you gotta take a Rumplemint shot for us.
Okay. And if Eastern Washington wins and Colgate,
I go to Eastern Washington. I'm just kidding.
If Eastern Washington wins and Colgate loses, all 3 of you guys have to take a Rumplemint shot.
I'll do it. Gladly.
And send it to the podcast, unlike Steven for not sending me his shotgun months ago after the Steelers didn't cover the first half spread against the Browns, but that's for another day. Let's go to the 15 seeds. I took Eastern Washington there. 15 seeds, Matt Maynard.
Give me GCU Grand Canyon. They're coached by an NCAA tournament legend in Bryce Drew, the former Valpost star. You can figure out the rest.
I like it. This is their first tournament appearance, actually. And to be honest with you, if you ever want to look up some fun YouTube college basketball videos, go look up GCU's fan base. They have a fantastic student section, ironically enough, and they look just like TCU. Same colors, same font, everything's the same. And you might have gotten an email from them recently to enroll in online classes from Grand Canyon University, battling out there with Phoenix University. Or University of Phoenix, excuse me. Jacob, let's go to you, 15 seed.
You know, I also was going to go with Grand Canyon until I came to my goddamn senses and realized I need to go for Oral Roberts because the university was literally created as a command by God. And if I don't go for them, what am I even doing?
It's like the better version of BYU, right?
Got
like
to.
the BYU guy just had a dream. John Smith or whatever his name was, he just had a little dream about becoming Mormon, I think. And Oral Roberts was a command. It was a command.
Commanded by God.
Like, you don't turn down a command. So we got Oral Roberts for Jacob.
Shout out, Tom.
Luke, let's go with you.
So I am actually taking Oral Roberts as well. Jesus said so. So they're going to beat Ohio State in the what is that? What was that? The Angels and the
Devils.
Devils. Yeah, I'll take the Angels.
Okay, Oral Roberts. Angels come out on top. I like it. You went Colgate and then Oral B. So you're just all over fresh breath right now.
Oh my God, I didn't even make that connection with the Oral.
Look at that.
Oral B.
All right, so Maynard, you're going from Grand Canyon University. What do you got as your 16?
As much as our good friend Tara Lee wants me to take her Drexel Dragons, shout out T. Lee, but I'm going with my little brother's alma mater. Give me the App State Mountaineers.
Oh my God.
Give me the App State Mountaineers. Projected to be, I think, the worst team in this tournament. We've seen crazy things happen. Let's have them upset the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Love to see it.
All right, App State over Gonzaga. Jacob, let's go to you.
I actually did go with Drexel just because it was the most familiar name when I looked at those 16 seeds.
Drexel Dragons. And Luke, your 16 seed?
I picked Drexel. I don't have no idea who we're talking about, but they had a dragon, so I picked them.
Drexel. And then I, too, went with Drexel. I figured, you know what? Illinois is the 4th 1 seed. Drexel's got a guy with a flame coming out of his mouth as their logo. I have a soft spot for teams that you don't actually know where they're at. So Drexel fits the mold there. You know, Liberty would be one of those as well. Morehead State would be a good one. There's St. Bonaventure is a good one. I mean, I have a soft spot for teams that you don't actually know where they're at. So I'll go with Drexel. So I got all these written down. We'll put them on the Instagram. Fans that are listening, go follow us on Instagram at the Poojie Podcast. Go follow us on Twitter at Poojie Podcast. And if you're out there listening, go join our tournament challenge, the Poojie Podcast, password Poojie on ESPN Tournament Challenge. Our March Madness fun begins Friday at noon. Don't be late to the party. We've all been there. Don't be late. And if you are going to be late, go pick up some drinks, bring them to the party, but enjoy some college basketball. Anything else from you guys before we head out?
Yes, we just all picked Drexel Dragons instead of and Matt did not. So I think a similar bet here. If Drexel wins, you got to take a fireball shot.
Oh,
it's not even a bet. I love Fireball.
And when they lose, I'll gladly take one myself.
We all know Matt loves him some Fireball.
How about Jack Daniel's Cinnamon?
Oh,
I like
some Jack Daniel's Cinnamon.
Let's go. I'll go with that.
About
Jim Beam Fire.
Yeah, if you guys come to Jaguar tailgates, you guys know my love for Fireball.
I love it. I love all the bets. We'll get these out on Instagram again. ESPN Tournament Challenge, the Poojie Podcast, password Poojie with the capital P. Send it to your friends. Send it to your family. You want to stomp them out anyway, so you might as well do it as a part of the podcast group. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. I'm excited to get to some March Madness basketball. It's been a little while since we've had this. It's been 2 years, actually. We didn't have any last year. And I'm looking forward to UCF winning it all next year when the team comes out on fire and dominates March Madness Tournament 2022. But until next time, thank you for tuning in. to episode, 76 of the Poojie Podcast. Thanks for being here. Take care and go make this world a better place. Thanks.